that there was a single common and relatively recent origin for Native Americans and that they came across the Bering Straits. That explanation no longer holds because of that Australasian DNA in the Amazon.
Everybody's heard about the Aztecs, everybody's heard about the Maya. But before the Aztecs and before the Maya, there were a culture who are referred to as the Olmecs. I explored the Olmec mystery in considerable depth.
Deep within the thick, untouched jungles of our planet lies a secret that has escaped humanity for centuries.
The settlement story of the Americas is much more complicated than we've realized.
Imagine a world where ancient puzzles and lost civilizations still exist, hidden from the watchful eyes of modern society.
The Olmecs, they're often called the mother culture of Mesoamerica. They are the first complex culture of any size and significance in that part of the world.
From towering temples decorated with detailed carvings to hidden rooms holding untold treasures, each discovery paints a clear picture of a society unlike any other.
This is part of a curious mystery that is not unconnected to the genetic mystery.
Join us on this epic quest as we unravel the mystery behind scientists' discovery of a lost civilization in the deep jungle you never heard of. Discovering Olmec and Venta civilization. At the end of the 19th and the start of the 20th century, the old civilizations of Central America started to catch the attention of both scholars and adventurers. The story of how people settled in the Americas is much more difficult than we thought before. Because of a mix of exploring, colonizing, and romanticizing things we didn't know, people were interested in the mysteries of old societies. One big mystery linked to the genetic puzzle of the Americas is the Olmec civilization. Famous for their big heads and detailed stone buildings, the Olmecs were some of the first civilizations to be found. But at first, many things were thought to be from the more well-known Maya and Aztec civilizations, because they looked similar, and people knew more about them. There have long been strange skulls found in parts of Brazil.
It's been known by archaeologists for quite a long time that there are anomalous skulls in parts of Brazil,
which adds to the mystery. The special parts of Olmec art and symbols weren't understood at first. Two important people who showed the wonders of Central America to the Western world were John Lloyd Stephens and Frederick Catherwood. Their trips, written about in Incidents of Travel in Central America, Chiapas, and Yucatan, and Incidents of Travel in Yucatan, not only told people about the Maya civilization, but also set a standard for future archaeologists. Their detailed drawings and interesting stories caught people's attention, making them interested in ancient Central American cultures. This time also started comparing things found in Central America to other places in the world, which gave new ideas about how human societies developed. Museums changed from just being places with interesting stuff to being places for research and teaching. Also, at the end of the 19th and the start of the 20th century, archaeology started using different fields like anthropology, language studies, and even early environmental science, which helped us understand more about Central American civilizations. Found by Western archaeologists, these huge statues, some over 9 feet tall and weighing a lot, were a puzzle. They are thought to be the first big civilization in Central America. With their special faces, including flat noses, chubby cheeks, and often helmets, they fascinated the people who found them, but left a lot of questions unanswered. We still don't know exactly what the helmets were for, as no real examples have ever been found, just like the fancy crowns of Egyptian rulers. In 1862, José Milari Sano made a big discovery at Tres Zapotes in Veracruz, Mexico. He found a huge head sculpture, which he said looked like it had features from Ethiopia, a country in Africa. But at the time, not much was known about these sculptures. Even though Milari's discovery was important, people didn't think it was part of a bigger unknown civilization. They just thought it was a random find. For many years, these big heads were seen as strange things, not important parts of history. People didn't understand how they fit into the bigger picture of ancient cultures. Sometimes they were even wrongly said to belong to other known civilizations like the Maya or Aztecs, or made-up cultures. It was like a puzzle missing some pieces, waiting for someone to figure it out. Things started to change in the 20th century when archaeologists like Matthew Stirling started digging more carefully in the Olmec heartland. They found more big heads and other old things, slowly putting the puzzle together. In 1945, An exciting journey led by Matthew Stirling took place to explore San Lorenzo, an ancient city connected to the mysterious Olmec civilization, which laid the groundwork for Mesoamerican history. This expedition, supported by the Smithsonian Institution, aimed to delve deeper into the significance of these historical sites. However, the vastness of San Lorenzo posed a challenge, as it was impossible to excavate everything at once. Stirling and his team had to carefully choose where to dig, focusing on areas with surface clues suggesting important artifacts. Their careful approach involved detailed planning, mapping, and exact techniques to preserve fragile artifacts dating back centuries. As they cleared away jungle growth and delved into the earth, Stirling's team wasn't just finding objects, they were reconstructing the story of the Olmec civilization. Each discovery, whether an artifact, stone, or pottery fragment, added a new piece to the puzzle of this ancient culture. The thorough recording and documentation of their findings were crucial for future analysis, providing a clearer picture of Olmec's life at San Lorenzo, dating from around 900 to 1200 BCE. San Lorenzo stands as a monumental site in the study of Mesoamerican history, hailed as one of the oldest major cities in the region, preceding the Maya and Aztec civilizations. Through radiocarbon dating, researchers gained insight into the timeline of San Lorenzo, shedding light on the early days of Olmec civilization. Among the remarkable discoveries were jade figurines and tools, indicating extensive trade networks and the cultural significance of jade. The diverse styles of pottery found at the site offered glimpses into daily life, artistic expression, and trade relations of the Olmec. The discovery of large structures, including platforms and potential elite residences, hinted at a highly organized society capable of mobilizing significant labor. The urban layout, centered around a central axis, reflected thoughtful planning, while distinct ceremonial and residential areas suggested a sophisticated social structure within Olmec society. In the 1950s, archaeologists became interested in Venta, an ancient place in Tabasco, Mexico. This excitement grew from what they found earlier at San Lorenzo. This change was a big deal in figuring out the secrets of the Olmec civilization. The Olmecs were one of the earliest advanced societies in Central America. With this new focus on the Olmec culture, archaeologists like Philip Dewar and Robert Heiser used fancy techniques and different ways of studying to learn even more about Venta. This helped them understand this ancient civilization much better than before. Between around 900 and 400 BCE, Venta thrived. This time was a peak for the Olmec culture, where they reached their highest point in art and development. One of Venta's important features was the Big Pyramid, a huge structure made of earth and clay, famous for its unique cone shape. Unlike later pyramids in Mesoamerica, this one showed the Olmecs' advanced building skills and their ability to organize big construction projects. The Big Pyramid and other buildings at Venta were lined up with stars and planets. Digs at Venta found not only cool buildings, but also a bunch of stuff, like giant heads carved from black rock, thought to be kings or important people. Fancy altars with detailed carvings gave clues about the civilization's stories and rituals. But keeping Venta safe is hard because it's hot and rainy and people live nearby. Secrets of Sacsayhuamán Fortress. High up on the rugged hills, overlooking the ancient city of Cusco, stands the impressive fortress of Sacsayhuamán. This huge structure, built with amazing precision, has stood the test of time, quietly keeping the secrets of a long-gone civilization. Its story began long before it caught the attention of Western historians and archaeologists. Sacsayhuamán was already a big part of local life and culture before the Spanish conquest of the Inca Empire in the early 16th century. The Spanish brought with them diseases like smallpox, which devastated the Inca population. When the Spanish, led by Francisco Pizarro, first saw Sacsayhuamán during their conquest of Cusco in 1533, they were immediately struck by the greatness and precision of the fortress. One of the earliest descriptions of Sacsayhuamán was written by Pedro Sancho, Pizarro's secretary, shortly after the fall of Cusco. His detailed accounts, along with those of his contemporaries, provided an early look at the size of the stones and the skill of the construction. These accounts laid the groundwork for future archaeological investigations. In the 19th century, the ruins of Sacsayhuamán attracted the interest of international travelers and scholars. Ephraim George Squire visited Peru in the 1860s, and his detailed sketches and descriptions brought more attention to the site's historical and architectural importance. By the early 20th century, the first systematic studies of Sacsayhuamán were underway. These early efforts were often limited by the techniques of the time, and a colonial mindset that sometimes misinterpreted the site's purpose and construction. Modern archaeological methods have greatly improved our understanding of Sacsayhuamán. Techniques like digital mapping, detailed layer analysis, and remote sensing have shown us the construction order, the true size of the site, and its various phases of use. Each stone and artifact found continues to add to the story of a civilization known for its remarkable architectural achievements and deep integration with its environment and the cosmos. The construction of Sacsayhuamán stands as a peak of Incan engineering and craftsmanship. The huge boulders used in its construction were taken from limestone deposits around Cusco. Moving these enormous stones, some weighing up to 200 tons, without the help of wheels or large animals, remains one of the great secrets of Incan skill. It is believed that thousands of laborers used logs, ropes, and collective human strength to move these stones. The precision with which these stones were cut and fitted together is extraordinary. The Incas mastered a technique known as ashlar masonry, which allowed them to fit stones so tightly together that no mortar was needed. The fit is so snug that not even a blade of grass can slip through the joints, providing significant earthquake resistance. The stones could shift slightly and settle back without causing the structure to collapse, an essential feature in the earthquake-prone Andes. Moreover, the architectural layout of the walls, composed of gigantic stones in a zigzag pattern, forms three parallel lines that merge into a formidable barrier. This design served not only as a strategic military defense, but also held symbolic meanings, perhaps representing the teeth of a puma, with Cusco itself thought to be laid out in the shape of this sacred animal when viewed from above. The design of Sacsayhuamán extends into both ceremonial and strategic realms. The zigzag walls, stretching over 600 meters, seem to echo the jagged peaks of the Andes, blending the natural landscape into its sacred architecture. This design not only provided a stunning aesthetic connection to its surroundings, but also reflected the Incas' deep respect for nature and the deities believed to reside within these natural elements. Researchers have suggested that Sacsayhuamán's design includes a hearing feature. Tests have shown that sounds made at certain points within the complex can be heard across vast distances without any echo. This acoustical engineering would have been particularly useful during large gatherings and ceremonies, allowing leaders' voices to be projected to extensive crowds. Additionally, the site's astronomical importance is highlighted by the orientations of its walls and specific architectural features, which align with celestial events such as solstices and equinoxes. Continuing with the architectural and engineering marvels of Sacsayhuamán, the Incas demonstrated remarkable ingenuity in water management by incorporating an advanced drainage system within the construction. This system was critical in handling the heavy rainfalls typical of the region, effectively preventing erosion and water damage to the structure. The tiered terraces not only provided a robust defense mechanism, but were also used to manage soil erosion and fertility, likely supporting gardens or smaller structures within the complex. When comparing Sacsayhuamán to another iconic Inca site, Machu Picchu, intriguing differences and similarities emerge, particularly in terms of purpose, function, and construction techniques. Sacsayhuamán, often seen as a fortress due to its massive walls and strategic location, primarily served as a ceremonial site and a symbol of imperial power and divine authority. In contrast, Machu Picchu, built around the mid-15th century, functioned as a royal estate for Emperor Pachacuti and was heavily focused on religious ceremonies and astronomical observations. The construction styles of these two sites also reflect their differing roles and philosophies. Sacsayhuamán is characterized by the use of enormous stones carefully fitted together without the use of mortar. On the other hand, Machu Picchu, while also renowned for its precision stonework, utilizes smaller, more regularly shaped stones that integrate seamlessly with the natural landscape, reflecting an overarching philosophy of harmony and balance with nature. Moreover, the locations and overall designs of Sacsayhuamán and Machu Picchu further highlight their distinct purposes. Sacsayhuamán's position on a high plateau overlooking Cusco gives it a strong militaristic and expansive design, symbolizing its role as a guardian over the capital. In contrast, Machu Picchu is nestled between mountain peaks, often shrouded in mist, creating a more secluded and mystical ambiance, designed to blend into its mountainous surroundings, emphasizing its spiritual and retreat nature. These strategic choices in location and design not only served practical purposes, but also conveyed the spiritual and cultural values of the Inca civilization. Sacsayhuamán not only stands out as an architectural and ceremonial masterpiece, but also as a strategic military fortress, exemplifying the Incas' deep understanding of military tactics and effective landscape utilization. Its defensive characteristics are carefully designed, blending the natural and constructed environments seamlessly. Strategically located on a hill overlooking Cusco, Sacsayhuamán's elevated position offered the Incas a crucial vantage point from which they could observe any approaching threats. This advantageous positioning provided ample time to prepare defenses or mount counterattacks, making it an integral part of the region's security. Access to Sacsayhuamán was deliberately limited, with a few heavily guarded entrances designed to be narrow, forcing attacking forces to enter in reduced numbers and become vulnerable to attacks from defenders positioned along the walls, above, and to the sides. Within the walls, the arrangement allowed for excellent visibility and easy communication between different sections of the fortress. Signal fires and other forms of visual messaging were used to coordinate defensive efforts across Sacsayhuamán and with other nearby fortifications, further enhancing its defensive capabilities. When comparing the defensive structures of Sacsayhuamán with those of medieval European castles, like Edinburgh Castle in Scotland, several intriguing contrasts and similarities come to light. Unlike the stone and mortar construction typical of European castles, Sacsayhuamán's walls were crafted using the ashlar technique, which involves fitting stones together without mortar. This technique provided significant earthquake resistance and ensured there were no weak points like mortar that could be easily undermined or eroded. Both Sacsayhuamán and many medieval castles share the strategic positioning on elevated ground, a common defensive feature that shows the universal tactical advantage of controlling high ground. The ancient roots of Mayan civilization. In the rich lands of Central America, the ancient Maya people flourished with a mysterious brilliance that still fascinates the world today. Among the many puzzles they left behind, their deep understanding of the stars stands out as proof of their smartness. Graham Hancock, an explorer who loves uncovering ancient mysteries, dives into this aspect of Maya life. He says that the Mayan calendar, which is super complex, wasn't just something they made up. It has roots in an older culture. This calendar, called the Mesoamerican long count calendar, is like a super advanced clock that tracks a long cycle with amazing accuracy. It's not just for marking days, it's like they were in sync with the stars. Hancock thinks this accuracy means they know a lot more about space than we give them credit for. Maybe they learned it from an even older civilization that's now lost to history. When you look at the amazing buildings they made, like the pyramid at Chichen Itza, you see how they aligned them with the stars. It's like they were building maps in the sky. The Maya also had stories about stars, like Orion, which they linked to things like rebirth. They were super aware of the movements of the sun, moon, and planets, and they even predicted things like eclipses. Hancock wonders if they got this knowledge from a bigger network of ancient cultures who shared ideas across oceans and continents. Their buildings, especially their pyramids, temples, and cities, show a level of skill that seems way ahead of their time. Maybe they inherited this knowledge from an even older civilization that had advanced maths, like using zero, which was rare back then. Hancock suggests that there might have been a super advanced society that got wiped out by some huge disaster, leaving the Mayans to start over from scratch. In an intriguing tale woven from ancient mysteries, Graham Hancock, a modern seeker of hidden truths, presents an interesting theory. He imagines a world where a highly advanced society existed long before the civilizations we know from history. This impressive civilization, perhaps thriving before the last ice age ended around 10,000 years ago, had deep knowledge in studying stars, constructing grand buildings, and solving tricky maths problems. In a big disaster, the old society in Hancock's story came to a really dramatic and terrible end. He thinks that something huge like a comet smashing into Earth or a massive flood nearly wiped out this civilization. But some people survived, and they took their advanced knowledge with them as they traveled around. These survivors shared what they knew with other societies that weren't as advanced, helping new civilizations to start growing. One of these might have been the Maya, according to Hancock. He points to the amazing things the Maya did with buildings and understanding the stars as proof of this influence. Hancock sees similarities in the way different ancient cultures built things, believed in religion, and knew about the stars, suggesting they all might have learned from the same ancient source of wisdom. We now know that around 12,800 to 11,600 years ago, there were huge disasters all over the world, like really fast-rising sea levels. Suddenly, stories of a huge flood everywhere aren't just stories, they could be memories of what happened. Graham Hancock, who tells stories about the hidden parts of history, brings his ideas to life. He imagines an ancient world where oceans didn't keep people apart, but brought them together. In this world, according to Hancock, there was a smart global culture that was good at sailing and building ships. They traveled all over, connecting faraway civilizations. Hancock's story isn't just about ships moving around, but also about ideas, technologies, and beliefs traveling across the seas. He sees the similarities in how buildings were made, and techniques used by different ancient cultures as hints that they might have shared knowledge, maybe spread through sailing networks. In this tale, ancient sailors are like unsung heroes, not just moving stuff, but also spreading culture and religion across the oceans. Hancock compares them to the Polynesian navigators, who were known for their amazing ocean voyages, suggesting that similar skills might have existed among other ancient maritime cultures. He believes that a lost civilization was drowned in a huge flood around 11,600 years ago. That's why he thinks we shouldn't just ignore the Atlantis story as crazy talk. Hancock's story gets even more interesting when he talks about the mysterious Maya civilization and their long count calendar. This calendar is a fancy way of keeping time, tracking a cycle of about 5,125 years, ending on a date that lines up with December 21st, 2012. Hancock sees this not as the end of the world, but as a big deal in Maya beliefs. He uses this moment to talk about how ancient civilizations understood time and how it all fits with stuff happening in the sky, like the equinoxes and the alignment of galaxies. Hancock, like a modern-day storyteller of lost civilizations, presents this really interesting idea. He tells a story of Earth's past, with big disasters like asteroids hitting, huge floods, and volcanoes erupting, which kept changing how human civilization went. But finding out about these ancient civilizations, especially the Maya, is like putting together a giant, fascinating puzzle. In the 16th century, Spanish explorers, led by people like Hernán Cortés, found the remains of a once great civilization. They discovered tall cities now covered by the jungle, a sad sight of North American pyramids. Before, there were over 1 million of them, but only 100,000 remain today. Sadly, their first meetings were not respectful, leading to the loss or destruction of much of Maya history because of prejudices and not understanding the Spanish conquest's devastating impact. Moving to the 19th century, there was a renewed interest in the Maya. Explorers and adventurers went into the jungles of Central America and the Yucatan Peninsula, eager to learn about these ancient peoples. Two people, John Lloyd Stephens and Frederick Catherwood, became famous for their exploration of Maya sites like Copan and Palenque in the 1830s and 1840s. By the 20th century, studying the Maya became a serious scientific pursuit. Archaeologists explored the ruins, doing careful digs and finding the secrets left by the Maya. Big projects at places like Copan and Chichen Itza showed detailed aspects of Maya life, religion, and governance. Discoveries at places like Tikal and Palenque gave insight into royal life, with fancy tombs and artwork. The rediscovery of the lost city of El Mirador in the late 20th century was a big moment, changing how we see Maya civilization. Flourishing from the 6th century BCE, El Mirador was a top city during the pre-classic period, before more famous classical Maya cities like Tikal and Palenque. El Mirador's size and complexity are amazing, with big urban centers, fancy plazas, and clever water systems. The main part of El Mirador is the huge La Danta Pyramid, one of the biggest in the Maya world, and proof of the Maya civilization's advanced building skills. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Dr. Emma Shaw and her team of scientists had been exploring the thick Amazon rainforest for weeks. Deep in the jungle, they found the entrance to a large cave hidden by vines and trees. The buildings were made of stone, with strange symbols carved into them. The streets were lined with statues of people wearing odd clothing. Dr. Shaw and her team were amazed as they had discovered a lost civilization called the City of the Moon. As they explored further, they found a library filled with stone tablets. Dr. Shaw carefully picked up one of the tablets and examined it. It was covered in the strange symbols they had seen all over the city. She realized these tablets might hold the secrets of the lost civilization. They learned that the City of the Moon was once a thriving place filled with people who were experts in astronomy, medicine, and art. They had built their city underground to protect themselves from invaders. But an earthquake shook the ground, causing parts of the city to collapse and sealing off the entrance. The people were trapped inside and could not escape, and as a result, the city was forgotten over time. Could these stone tablets unveil the mysteries of the lost City of the Moon? Let us know your answer in the comments section. Dwarka and the Indus Valley Civilization. In the western part of India, there's a really old city called Dwarka. It's not just old, it's like an ancient treasure chest of stories, both magical and historical. Imagine this. Back when a lot of land was underwater, Dwarka was standing tall where the Gomati River meets the Arabian Sea. It was like a strong fortress, keeping the bad guys out and making it easy to trade with other places. In old tales, Dwarka sounds like a fancy place with well-organized streets, drains, and walls. It tells us that the people who lived there cared about keeping things neat and in order. But there's still a lot we don't know about Dwarka, where it came from, and how long it lasted before the sea covered it. People who've explored underwater near modern Dwarka have found lots of ancient stuff, like stone foundations and stairs. These leftovers give us a peek into a society that knew how to live by the sea. Scientists, with their fancy tools, have even made maps of the sunken city. But it's not just the buildings that make us excited. The things they've discovered tell stories about trade, cultural exchange, and how their society worked. By dating these things, using a method called radiocarbon dating, we can piece together their timeline and match it with stories about Lord Krishna, bridging the gap between legend and reality. Dwarka's story is wrapped up in myths about Vishwakarma, the architect Lord Krishna asked to design the city. It was supposed to be all shiny with gold and jewels, but beneath all that splendor lies a mystery beneath the waves. As we delve into history, Dwarka's tale blends truth with legend, connecting the past to the present. Its sunken ruins and legendary origins keep us curious, urging us to uncover more about what happened back then. Dwarka's story echoes the mysterious fate of the Indus Valley civilization, a puzzle that has baffled scholars for ages. Both thrived with busy cities and advanced planning before vanishing into obscurity. The sudden disappearance of both civilizations has intrigued historians, who tirelessly search for answers to their mysterious end. Both Dwarka and the Indus Valley civilization left behind remains of their once vibrant societies, providing clues for researchers. Excavations at places like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa unearthed detailed structures and artifacts, offering insights into the lives of ancient Indus Valley people. Similarly, underwater explorations near Dwarka revealed submerged structures and artifacts, hinting at a flourishing maritime culture. The decline of both civilizations is attributed to various factors like changes in the environment, natural disasters, and social unrest. Some speculate that shifts in rivers or climate might have contributed to their downfall. Others suggest internal conflicts or invasions from outside destabilized these civilizations. With limited written records, historians must piece together fragmented evidence to understand the exact causes of their collapse. Despite their mysterious disappearance, Dwarka and the Indus Valley civilization left enduring legacies in art, architecture, and culture. Today, researchers continue to probe the mysteries of Dwarka and the Indus Valley civilization, employing new technologies and methodologies to unearth fresh clues. Through collaboration between archaeologists, historians, and scientists, they gradually unravel more about these lost civilizations. Now, let's explore the interesting ideas about the sudden fall of the old Indus Valley civilization. Imagine living in a city where the usual rain patterns start acting strangely around 2200 BCE, leaving behind a story with lots of missing parts, waiting to be discovered. Back in the 19th century, in the middle of the British efforts to build the Indian railway system, they found something remarkable in Punjab. Old ruins built with great care. They didn't know then that they were unintentionally disturbing the remains of a once thriving society lost in history. An old civilization unknowingly helps build something modern, while its own story fades away. Then comes Alexander Cunningham, like a historical detective, starting the Archaeological Survey of India. He was among the first to closely study these ruins, but even with his detailed reports, the real importance of these findings remained unclear, like scattered puzzle pieces waiting for someone smart to put them together. Sir John Marshall took over the ASI in the early 20th century, determined to uncover the secrets of ancient times. Under his guidance, digs at Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro revealed a civilization marked by cleverness and complexity. Harappa, now in Pakistan, was the gem of the Indus Valley civilization. Yet despite their smart planning and impressive buildings, the sudden disappearance of the Indus Valley civilization remains a big mystery, hidden in history. What are your thoughts on the discovery of a lost civilization by scientists in the deep jungle that you never heard of? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section.